about now? Do I have sound now? What about now? Do I have sound now? Well, I can hear my own sound, so that's cool. Huh. Okay, if I'm over here, is my sound really muffled and weird? Hi. Yay. Okay, cool. So, yesterday, I got a weird call from UPS that they had attempted a delivery to my studio, and they were having trouble figuring out which unit in the building it was. And I was a little bit confused because I had not ordered anything to my studio. In fact, I very rarely order things for delivery to the studio because of the it's a weird place to deliver to situations. So pretty much the only times I have things delivered to my studio are if I have brand partnerships, like somebody is sending me free stuff. I would rather have that sent to my art studio rather than my home. And if I have really, really bulky art supplies, then I have it sent to the studio. And so I went through all of my orders from the past few months trying to figure out if I'd accidentally sent something to the studio, and there was nothing. And furthermore, nothing was being sent via UPS. So that was weird. I had them redirect it to my house. So this arrived, in fact, it arrived in a larger envelope, and originally it was sent from a shipping company in Bolton. So this was inside a larger envelope that said a shipping company in Bolton. And I opened that because that was just a mystery company. And the first part of my theory is already correct. This was from Gwartzman's. So I have a wild theory about what's inside here that's based on just, you know, the best theory I can come up with why someone would have sent something to my studio. So Gwartzman's is an art supply store in Toronto. I have purchased things from there in the past, both in person, and I have actually ordered things for delivery. Although when I ordered for delivery, I have double checked my orders and they came to my house, not my studio. So either Gwartzman's found my studio address online and decided to ship me something, or they got my studio address from someone else. And I suspect it's the latter. They are exclusive distributors for a couple of companies who have sent me things in the past. So I have a theory about what's inside here. I've written it down on the back of this Post-it note. I'm not going to specify what I think this is, because this wasn't, like, I didn't order this, and so I don't want to pressure any of the companies involved into sending me stuff that I didn't ask for, whatever. This is surprise. This is awesome. I assume there's paint inside here, but yeah. Yes, let's see if I can adjust that. Sorry, I'm pretty sure that my sound is coming through my computer mic, which is not really where I want it to be coming through, but I don't know how to fix that on the fly. So it's a good microphone, but it's all the way across the room. Not much I can do about that. Anyway, so yeah, so this is pretty neat. Anyway, my theory, and it's a wild theory, before I knew it was from Gwartzman's, I had this wild theory that, like, I was trying to figure out who sends me stuff to the studio, because I know what my decision-making process is for getting things sent to the studio. So pretty much it's only if somebody is sending me stuff, you know, for free, or if it's bulky art supplies that I need over there, then it's sent to the studio. Otherwise, everything comes to my house, because it's easier to accept things here. So unless it's difficult to carry there, or it's somebody where, like, I don't necessarily want to give my home address to anyone who asks on the internet. So my studio address is something that you can find. If you search me online, it does come up. So I've got this covered up because it's also got my phone number on it, which I don't think is that easy to find online, although I could be wrong, because I have gotten calls from people as well. Anyway, this was sent. It's a surprise. I didn't pay for it. Nobody owes me anything. My theory is that a company from another continent who Gwartzman's is a supplier for, who has sent me stuff in the past before Gwartzman's supplied them in North America, told Gwartzman's to send me this stuff so that they wouldn't have to send it from overseas. And they have my address then, my studio address. That's my theory. I have my note here where I've written that down, just because I think it would be fun to be right. So this was my theory before I even knew it was coming from Gwartzman's. I suspected, well, Gwartzman's just followed me on Instagram a couple days ago, so I think somebody told them, whatever. Yeah. So this should be fun. I'm just gonna wait just a little while longer to see if anyone else is joining. Oh. Looks like we don't really have a whole bunch of people here. Also, seems like I do this every year, but I got myself new sandals, new to me, and these ones are actually, they're my Holy Grail sandals from 2000 whatever, or very nearly. These sandals, I finally found them online. They're probably about a size larger than it'd be really ideal, but they work just fine and they're so comfortable. They're my Echo sandals. The original ones I had a buckle instead of this Velcro, so it's like 1 year off the design, but it's otherwise pretty much identical to the sandals I had as a teen that I just wore every day through 3 summers. And by summers, I do mean like April to November, whenever there wasn't snow on the ground. These are amazing. They're a size 40, so if anyone finds a size 39 or a size 40 in these things, buy it, send it to me. I'll pay a premium. They're like from the year 2000, so yeah. And I should probably figure out what the exact model number is so I can. They're like the most comfortable shoes that ever there was, and yeah. That also arrived today, so today is a good day. They are so comfy, they're so great, and I had this pair of sandals, and like, I don't know, my mom bought 2 pairs, one for herself and one for my sister, and neither of them, like, I guess they didn't really suit my mom's feet really well, so she never wore hers, and then my sister wouldn't touch them because she thought they were ugly, because, I mean, honestly, they're, like, pretty clunky, and, you know, my sister's a fashionista, I'm not. I dress like a weirdo artist. And so one summer I was out of sandals and my mom said, oh, well, you wear about the same size shoes as us. So she gave me my sister's pair, and I wore them for 3 years straight until they were falling apart on my feet. And I thought I had another pair, so I wasn't worried about finding a replacement. Turns out that my mom's pair was a size smaller, so it was too small. Now, at this point, it would be even worse because my feet have, you know, grown as you age. They stretch out a little. So I'm pretty sure that the size that fit originally was a 38 and the 37 didn't fit. At this point, a 38 would probably not fit either. So I need a 39 would probably be ideal. This is a size 40 and that's fine. I was a little worried that it would be too big, but you know, I couldn't pass up. I haven't seen these sandals in forever. And they're still really comfy. I don't care. I do not care. I will wear sandals. Like if there's snow on the ground, I wear boots. Otherwise, like I would just wear these sandals every day. I need the boots version of these sandals basically for winter, and then I'm all set. Yeah, okay. I think we've got like enough people here. I'd only wear sandals with thick socks. I mean, to be honest, I have worn sandals with socks. Like I'm not a snob about that. I'll wear whatever. I don't really like socks, or I've grown to like wool socks, but if I can get away with no socks, I'm happier with no socks. These ones are really nice though. Okay, we're gonna talk about sandals for a while people gather around before I open up my real package. These ones have a nice cushy insole, like it's padded. It's padded here. So it molds to your foot, and then they've got a nice little pad here. Now the original one was all brown on the outside, which I liked better. And it also had a buckle, which I also liked better. But I don't care because this is still so close. And looking at them, I mean, I just wore mine into the ground because I was a teenager and didn't know any better. I feel like this time I might try to be a little bit more careful, and like once the sole starts going, maybe get them repaired, because they are stitched down, so like presumably you could stretch this a while. And I'll also just be keeping an eye out for these. Now the other neat thing is, now that my feet have grown a bit, this was actually listed as a men's style. I'm pretty sure that whatever my mom and my sister had was unisex at most, because size 37 and 38, like that's a size 6.5 or 7.5. Yeah, 6, 7. So this is like closer to a size 9, 9.5. Which in women's, which like then you can get it in men's. But like those smaller sizes wouldn't have been available as men's shoes, so at most they were like unisex maybe. I don't know. They're really, really, really comfy. And like just right out of the box, they're really comfy. And then they just get comfier because they mold to your feet. So I need this in boots, and then I'm all set. And then I'll just, you know, wear the same thing over and over again. Okay, so that is that. This is my little packet, and I think at this point I'm just gonna open. Let me just check these messages. Yep, sorry. Okay, convincing me more that I was right. So here's my little note where I wrote this down. Ta-da! Yep, here we go. So, Roman Schmall 2021 new colors, sent by manufacturer through new exclusive North America distributor. So this is what I thought this was. And I was right! Ah! That's so cool. Okay, so that was my like wild theory about it. Why am I getting a UPS shipment to my studio? And I didn't wanna just like say that up front. I didn't wanna express that wild theory because yeah. Because it's a wild theory and I didn't want to be like, I think that this manufacturer in Poland is sending me more free stuff because they've sent me a whole bunch of free stuff. But you know, that's not their responsibility at all. I never asked for it. And they haven't like, the thing is nobody told me this was coming. I haven't heard anything from Roman Schmall in months. And I haven't heard anything from Schwartzmans at all. Like I have ordered from them in the past, but they've recently followed me on Instagram. Is the only interaction that I've had with them, other than like going into the store or ordering things online, you know, ages ago. So these are the new 2021 Roman Schmall colors. So Roman Schmall has sent me a number of paints over the years. He sent me a sampling of some of the original ones. The last time there was a major release of paints, he sent me all of the new colors plus some extras. And then this, I think, is just the new colors from 2021. So I'm delighted to have these. I realized earlier today that I don't have, I've run out of my little swatch cards, so I make little swatch cards for my paints that I put into a swatch binder. And I do have some extra, this is a real mess. Oh, maybe I do have, wait. I found this big pile of stuff, but I thought it was all ready swatched, but apparently I do have a few, so I don't think I have enough. Don't think I have enough. I do seem to have a couple of blanks, but not as many as I would hope to have. Anyway, I have some paints that need to be put back into the binder. Yeah, maybe. These are blanks. Yeah, I probably still do need to swatch some more. But then to then show what happens with these after I then sort them into this binder where I have these, they're business card sheets, and I sort them by pigment in here. So then I have samples of all the pigments that I get to try. So that's any paints that I get, any like large dots that I can swatch. Some brands put out like sample dot cards. So I've got all sorts of sources of paint. And I swatch everything I can, and that goes into that binder. And I seem to, will I need to cut more? Oh, buddy. Oh, Ember, I will need to cut more. I will need to cut more, unfortunately. Right? 6. Okay, that's fine. Cut some more. Anyway, this is really exciting. Really happy to have these. The Roman Schmall paints are lovely. I really do like them. The only downside is that they really do only come in the one form factor. I've talked to him about whether he plans to release tubes, and he said, yeah, maybe sometime, but it's not a priority. So I would, yeah. Hi, Lana. So I've got the new Roman Schmall paints. Yay! 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 This is so exciting. Yeah, I really love the Roman Schmall paints, and I mean, like, I'm sure that my opinion is influenced by the fact that, you know, I've spoken to the owner and he sent me a whole bunch of stuff. Like, that kind of generosity is sure to influence my subjective experience. Not much I can do about that. I am very open about the fact that, you know, well, I've gotten these things, like he has just sent me. Roman Schmall has sent me paint, one of the very, very few manufacturers, and the only one with like a, you know, certainly the largest, or like the best known manufacturer who sent me anything. Is that true? Yeah, I think so. Certainly, like, paint manufacturer, I've received things from a couple of different people, but like, in terms of manufacturers sending me paint for free, like, he's been very, very generous. And it is one guy, and he's really lovely to talk to, and he has, you know, he'll discuss pigments, he's very open and interested, and all of that is for sure like going to influence my subjective experience of the paints, whereas somebody who doesn't have that, you know, well, I mean, their experience won't be shaped by that. So like, I'm trying to be open about that, but at the same time I really do believe that these are good paints. They're really good. Buying them at Gwartzman's, unfortunately everything in Canada is a little bit more expensive. So it's not Gwartzman's fault. They have really good prices for Canada, but getting Roman Schmall paints from Canada is always going to be a little bit pricier. I am, however, really happy to have a local source because they can get me shipping really fast. And I can walk in and get something if I'm in Toronto. Like, it's really lovely. They're a really lovely store. They're also family owned. I've always enjoyed going there. They're one of these little shops, dusty old shops that has like a corner full of old discontinued paint that you can just pick through. So some of the more interesting paints that I've gotten over the years I've picked up there. A lovely place. But certainly if you order from Europe, or even at Jackson's, you can get Roman Schmall paints a lot cheaper than you would get a lot of other brands of paint. And certainly even within Canada, like if you're talking about Roman Schmall versus Schminke and you're comparing those prices at Canadian stores, Roman Schmall is, you know, a really affordable brand of paint. I did look at their prices here, and they are a little bit pricier than they are, you know, buying elsewhere. Again, not Gwartzman's fault at all. But if you want them locally, I believe they're the exclusive North American distributor. Okay, so yeah, next thing I'm gonna do, I guess, is cut me some more swatch sheets. This I think I actually did buy at Gwartzman's. So paper is one thing that I tend to try to buy locally, because shipping on paper can get really pricey, whereas with local companies you can get free shipping, and they had a deal going. So I think this is actually from Gwartzman's. There you go. All Gwartzman's today. And then what was my 3 this way and 2 the other way, I believe. So if I go, first I go here and I line it up at 9 because it's just over 9, hopefully. Nope. Okay, it is actually at 9. I'm going to go to so in terms of swatches, I'm just gonna go over this again. I use arches or arches. Wait, whoop. Okay, I'm cutting too many at once apparently. And also my hands are filthy. What happened here? I'll get back to that one later. Sorry. Arches, or you want to be pronounce it in the correct French. There's arche paper, and okay, these ones are going to be a bit awkward, but that's all right. Whoops. And I use hot press. So I use a bunch of different papers, always 100% cotton and usually hot press. For painting, I find that this is a good middle ground that's widely available, if not particularly cheap. So I know that I'm always going to be able to get it, so it's a consistent starting point for my swatches. So that's what I use for my swatches. I always use the same paper for the purpose of like having a good comparison. If I've got a bunch of different paints, I can compare them most effectively if I have it all in the same stuff. And then I use the same stamp card for everything, or sorry, the same card stamp. That is from, what's it called? Oh, I've forgotten the stamp maker. And I've cut this weird, haven't I? I've cut this weird. Why does this always happen? It's fine. This is not actually all that critical. I do try to keep these pretty even because, you know, makes me feel nice, but if they're a little bit different, it really doesn't matter a huge amount. But, yeah, okay, I am cutting these. It seems like they're just narrower than some of the other ones. What have I done? Up here, and these come up there, and then I will do, what am I doing? Oh my goodness. I'm just like lining this up completely wrong because apparently I can't read or something. Doing things on camera means I do them really, really poorly. Oh, because I have inches and centimeters. And the centimeters are the solid grid lines, which makes sense because that's the more sensible system, and the dotted lines are inch subdivisions or half inches, which is not solid because that's a silly, not sensible system. And of course, I'm using the silly, not sensible system because I'm using a business card sleeve. And these things, which are sold for the Canadian market, North American market, in 9 by 12 inches, so it makes most sense for me to cut these in 2 by 3 inches, but then I have to follow these weird dotted, yeah. See now you see my problem? That's my problem. I definitely have a lot of paints, and yeah, I mean, I use a lot of paints, and I haven't bought new paints in a while, because clearly I don't have to buy new paints because paints just keep showing up. Although I do have some handmade paints that I want to buy, so there's that. But that's a different thing, right? I mean, I was considering buying some of these Roman Schmalls because, you know, some of them look real nice. Yeah, so in Canada, we'd like to believe we're sensible, so we use centimeters and meters for most things, except that we're also very near the States and only switched over in the 70s, which is before I was born, but nonetheless, we still use imperial for like a bunch of random things. So like temperatures are in Celsius, unless you're talking about ovens. Those are in imperial. Yeah. And dimensions are in metric, unless you're talking about like paper sizes or lumber, in which case it's imperial. Yeah. There's a flow chart somewhere. There's a joke flow chart about how to measure things like a Canadian. You know, distances. Also, yeah. We use like if it's a person that you're measuring, and it's not the doctors. Like the doctors will obviously measure us in sensible units, but if you are talking about your weight, that's in pounds, duh. Or your height. That's in feet and inches. Why? I don't know. Just is. I would happily use centimeters for this, but it's just my paper comes in certain dimensions, and my sheets come in certain dimensions, and it's a bit easier to do that in imperial. Okay, I think that's enough of this for now. I'm going to go put this guillotine away. Next. So, I'm going to take these, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to chop my wax off, and find my stamp pad, and hope that my dog decides to shut up sometime soon. She's out being loud outside, but I don't want to go deal with her right now. Now the first one's always a little bit weak, but that's okay. They get better. Okay, I'm gonna go fetch a dog for a moment. I don't like it when she barks. She doesn't like bark at people or something. It looks irregular. Well, of course they coincide because like they're whatever. Yeah. It's not irregular. It's in inches, but they'll be like different, you know, because it's a different spacing between each one, so whatever. Are you following me? Bring your toy. Get your toy ready. Okay, I'll get your toy. I'll get your toy. It's fine, bud. Fine. Okay. Unlock. Oh, sorry, I am in live chat. Yes, I like Celsius temperatures better, but like if you get like if you're getting cooking directions, right, like most of the cookbooks that we have here are printed for the American market, so they'll have cooking temps in Fahrenheit, so I'm like more familiar with what 425 is rather than 200 in terms of, you know, what's a cooking temp. Yeah. Like we could reset our ovens to be in I'm pretty sure it's just a toggle switch on our ovens, just like it is on our thermostats. It drives me crazy that some people will still leave their thermostats in Imperial. So like at the studio we have our thermostat in Imperial, and it's not up to me, it's up to the landlord. But like, oh, it's so cold, it's 63. What does that mean? You know, I'm doing conversions in my head, why? I definitely like temperatures better in Celsius. It just makes sense to me that, like, yes, freezing is 0, that makes sense, versus freezing is -20. No, 20? 20? What is freezing? I can't tell anymore. 40? Whatever freezing is. In Fahrenheit. I could figure it out. Yeah, cooking is in oven coordinates. 350 is neutral. Cups. Hi, Mom. Hey, look, Mom. Mom. Look at these. Look at these. They actually fit. I mean, okay, right now I'm like pushing on the back so that they look like clown shoes. But I'm surprised at how well the size 40s fit. Because that's like an 8.5, 9, 9.5. I think they said 9 was the best conversion, but yeah. So they're a little bit big, but they're so comfortable, Mom. I just need to find like a lifetime supply of these. So if I can keep these going for like maybe 5 years if I resold them. Then I just need, you know, lots more. And also the boots version of these so that I can just not ever, like just have like 2 pairs of shoes. That's my goal. That's my goal. Also, I got these things from Poland via Gwartzman's in Toronto in a mystery UPS shipment shipped to my studio, and so I had a bit of a puzzle trying to figure out who was shipping me things to UPS to my studio, via UPS to my studio, because who has my studio address? Not very many people. And this was before I even knew it came from Gwartzman's, because this came in a box, like from a shipping company in Bolton. So I had this wild theory. I was like, I think this came from Roman Schmall via Gwartzman's in Toronto. That's my theory. And I was right. So I didn't order these paints. They are sent to me by the manufacturer or by the North American distributor, but the manufacturer obviously told them to do it. They recently followed me on Instagram was my only other clue. Is that enough? I think that's enough. I'll do the rest of these later, and I also have a few from before, so I'm just going to grab those from before, and there we go. I can stamp the rest of these later. You were younger, your feet were ridiculously skinny. I think that has changed and affects the size overall. Yes, well, I have duck feet, so I have teeny tiny little ankles, and the front of my feet are much wider. Like the front of my feet are actually probably a little on the wide side now. But they've also gotten a bit longer. Like shoes that used to fit lengthwise, I now have to crunch my toes to fit into. Feet do sort of, I don't know, stretch, grow, fatten up a little over time, I guess. Seems to be a common thing. Not a huge amount, but, you know. size and a half since I was 15 or so. Okay, so then I should label these, I guess. Oh, let me go check if I've got enough label tape for this or whether I should write it down on the sides. I think that might be a write it down on the sides thing. And is this permanent ink? Doesn't really say. One moment, gotta figure something out. Okay. Alright, I do actually have a label maker. Oh, wait a minute. Let's turn this on. On. Hello? Label maker? Hey, out of batteries? Okay, fine. My obsession with label makers has faded a little. So I might spare you this wonderful content. And stick to labeling with pens, which will be quicker, honestly. Although I do need to find a pen that'll permanently write on this, so let's see about that. Where is it that all my pens go right when I need them? Like I want like a roller ball. That's what I want. Or like a really fine tip technical pen. Or something. Yeah, because if I try to use a Sharpie, that's going to be too wide, right? This is going to be way too wide. P, V, 43. And this is, it's not too bad. Could be better. I'm going to check if, what is this? Huh? Oh, wait. Oh, is that, black uni ink? I think it is. I also got an order in from Yoseka Stationery in the US, which is like a Japanese stationery manufacturer, or a Japanese stationery distributor, but based in the US today. And they very generously filled their customs form out in a way that allowed me to not pay duty, which was really nice. And they have really awesome selection of really awesome things. So mostly I got fountain pen pigment inks that are not very widely available. But I also got this, which is a Uni Jetstream pen. And I think it will write just fine. Maybe? Not really liking writing on this thing. Okay. No, maybe not. Okay, I also got some, what are you? Is that a black? Little teeny tiny brush pen things, which I'm not sure if they are how they react with water. So let me just go get some water and find out. That's gray, not black, because I figured black is something that I can easily get, and gray was the more unique thing. I have some interesting colors there. One moment. You wouldn't happen to have like a really fine tip Sharpie or something, would you? Turns out Jordan's office had what I needed. So there we go. But I've also got water now. Okay, so let's try that again. That is P. Oh, I thought Jordan's office had what I needed. Did not. Finding pens that write on these plastic thingers is, and that is quite that is quite water soluble. Okay, Phil, Sharpie it is. P29. I'll leave that in here. Ultra Intense. And we'll do this one. You know what? I will leave these attached so that when I figure out my label maker, I can label them better. That's a thought. Okay. earlier today I planted strawberries in my front yard. We finally, and by we I mean Jordan, has finally finished digging out the gravel from the front. So our front yard was all landscaped with gravel, and we had placed a raised bed above the gravel, like a cedar raised bed above the gravel to plant some vegetables in. And then our plumbing failed catastrophically, so we lost the cedar raised beds. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do these one at a time while I'm going to start swatching. So I am going to swatch. First I'm going to label this. Label one, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Blue Ridge. Crossing. Blue Ridge. Raw. Sienna? Yeah, that's it. So like this is why I don't really like using these for 2x43. P Y 4 3. So this actually, like, there's not really enough room to label these properly with my fat Sharpie pen, but I'm out of the skinny Sharpies, and I have a billion pens and none of them really want to draw on this stuff. So what do people use to label the sides of pans? Anyway, I'm going to use a rosemary and cool sable, size 5. Which apparently I've been abusing my nice brushes because it's still got some purple in it. I can't help myself. I want to try these already. What was this called? Dark ochre. PY43. So this is why I shouldn't have put it back in, because the thing is all labeled in there. All the information is on the label. Whoops. We're going to do these one at a time. Some texture in there, just to show what the paint does. And let's see, so and here I can use this one, P Y 43, but no, it's sorry, dark ochre. They have non granulating. So I'm going to, these little symbols are unfortunately different for different brands, and they use different levels of coloring it in, so that's always annoying, but in terms of how these cards are set up, but I still really like that they are a thing that I can just stamp and have consistent, because setting up consistency for myself is not something that I would excel at. Sorry, I can push this in closer so that you all can see. Sorry, I'm going to focus in a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. There. Is it that? I'm gonna focus in like that. Wait! Sorry, guys. Oh. My microphone, which is what my phone was, which is what was doing my sound. So that must have been horrible for everyone listening. By the way, there's something weird with the settings on OBS, and we need to talk about it. Sorry, everyone. That must have been horrifying. Color pigment is this. Sorry, this one? This is dark ochre that it says that I've got now. And sorry, my chat's been frozen for a while. Sorry, okay, did you not hear my microphone collapsing? Because that's where the sound is coming through. Weird. Weird, weird. I think that's where the sound is coming through. You had earphones, so but we can't see you. You can't see me? What do you mean you can't see me? Hello? Hello? Like you can't see my face, or you can't see me at all? You see my fingers now? Did I somehow manage to pause? See it by design. Okay. Okay, sorry, it just looked like your screen was frozen because I was chatting and not painting. Okay. All right. This one. And the information on the package says this has medium granulation, so we're going to cover that partially. Medium staining. Okay, so we're going to cover that partially. We're going to say it's partially transparent. And light fastness 8. And I'm going to move this over. That is a really beautiful ultramarine. I really, really like that ultramarine. Oh, that's a gorgeous ultramarine. Look at that. Oh, that's like the cobalt blue that you want. Like the cobalt, like the cobalt glass, you know, it's small paint was actually looked like clear glass. I have a collection of cobalt blue glassware. That is beautiful. And I should put this back in with this little doodad. I'll put this one back in with its little doodad. And then this one is going to come out next. And so this is Blue Ridge, something, Blue Ridge Raw Sienna. Just try to get as much of this in as I can. As many of these so you can see. Sometimes it's easier to see colors if there's a comparison, you know? So, trying to get as much of this viewing in this little close-up as I can. This one's going to be called Blue Ridge. Raw Sienna. So some of you know I have a thing about raw siennas. Raw sienna was at one point early in my watercolor journey. I thought raw sienna was just like this really gorgeous, gorgeous color. And I think what I had was the original discontinued single pigment raw sienna from Winsor Newton. So raw sienna at Winsor Newton is now a dual pigment thing that's supposed to replicate what their original pigment was, but I really liked it. It was like this deep golden color, really nice, really smooth, really lovely. And since then I've been disappointed by raw siennas. And I think, to be honest, like I've since found that there's a Canadian distributor, Kama, who distributes a raw sienna that I really like. So all of the Canadian indie paint makers and some of the other indie paint makers make this really lovely raw sienna. And I've also got the pigment, so I can make it myself. Because raw sienna is actually really easy to mull. Transparent, semi-transparent, and pigment number PY43, and then both of these. I'll add this note, which Roman Schmall puts in on a number of these paints, where it's a natural earth pigment rather than, you know, something lab made. I don't know that that's a thing that's important to me, but it's clearly important to him. So, what pigment was that? Spanish Gold Ochre? Spanish Gold Ochre is also another really lovely one from Kama, but I am actually talking about their raw sienna. So I have both of them here. No, that's the ochre. Wait, there's. So this is the. Yeah. So, Kama's raw sienna is PBR 7, and Kama's Spanish Gold Ochre is PY42 hydrated. There we go. They're lovely. The Spanish Gold Ochre has a bit more body to it and a bit of a, like a, more of a shift, I would say, as it's drying. Like this Blue Ridge raw sienna actually, I think reminds me a little bit more of the Spanish Gold Ochre. It is really lovely though. I do really like it. It is a little bit on the opaque side, certainly when first applied. So we'll see what it does as it dries. Oh, but it is really nice and creamy, and I do really like that sort of orangey golden undertone. I find that's often missing from a lot of raw siennas. So that is a really lovely raw sienna option. I do like that. If I had to choose a raw sienna out of commercial paint brands, this would be up near the top for sure. Still have a bit of it left. Yeah, it is like, honestly, for earth tones, if you like stuff like earth tones that are from Kama, just get the pigment. And they also sell, the other thing that Kama sells is they sell gum arabic solution that's already, it's already got water in it. It's already like a syrup consistency. So you just mix some of that and some of the pigment. If you want to make it vegan, you can use maple syrup. I use honey in mine. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but you can use a little bit of maple syrup as a wetting agent, not too much, because you can run into some issues. But I know that, for example, Dan is now using maple syrup as his wetting agent, as his hygroscopic agent to make it re-wet easier. Why ruin maple syrup? Because it's plentiful. The land flows with maple syrup this time of year. I'm joking, of course. But like, it is maple syrup time here. We do have our if it's above freezing during the day and below freezing at night, which it has been for the past few nights in spring, that's when you collect maple syrup. Yeah, because you get one of these little things, and it's like, I think it's less than $10 for a little package of this, and this is like a lifetime supply of stuff. You can get them either direct from Kama, their shipping's pretty reasonable, or if you're ever in Toronto, or you're gonna meet a shipping maximum anyway, or a shipping, free shipping minimum anyway, Above Ground Art Supplies also carries them. They also do free shipping specials every so often. Or I don't know, maybe ask Gortzman's. Maybe Gortzman's will start carrying them. Huh? Let's plug my featured source today. I have no affiliation with Gortzman's. They just sent me this stuff. They didn't even tell me they were sending it. Over here it's rather expensive. Okay, it is rather expensive here too. But we do have trees. I have some maple syrup that I bought from the local high school, from the trees that they tapped over at the corner, on their property. They did it as a project, and so they sold the little jar thing for, I think it was $4. It's not it's certainly not a cheap thing anywhere. Because the truth is, to make maple syrup, you get the sap, which is 2% sugar at the highest, and then you boil it down until it's 65% sugar. So. Lot of sap, a little bit of syrup. So this is PBR7 Earth Pigment Blue Ridge Burnt Sienna. Wait, was that PY43? But it's weird. So this one is called PY43 Raw Sienna. This one's Burnt Sienna, but it's PBR7. PBR7. Methinks there's something going on in this Blue Ridge nonsense, that it isn't quite exactly all, burnt versus raw, the same thing. What with these pigment codes? drying paint, it functions similar to honey. Yeah, I mean, it similar to honey, it just keeps your paint from drying out completely. It's a sugar solution that, you know, it absorbs a little bit of water into the sugar. Keeps it from drying too hard. You're swimming in maple trees and it's still expensive. Yeah, I mean, I guess honey's probably a little bit cheaper. Depending, like you can definitely get cheaper honey than real maple syrup. But like, if you get local maple syrup versus local honey, they're about the same. It's just that you're not going to get real maple syrup imported from wherever, right? Honey does not ever get darker, but whether that applies to maple syrup. Well, it doesn't, like, so maple syrup doesn't brown beyond the color that it is. Like, it is brown because of caramelization of the sugars in the boiling process. So there are grades of maple syrup, light, medium, dark, and that is dependent on the amount of sugar that was in the sap to begin with. So the lightest grades of maple syrup are lighter because they had more sugar to begin with, so they didn't caramelize as much in boiling off the water. It shouldn't change from what it originally was. It will it will affect the color in mixing it, I guess, somewhat like honey. To be honest, I joked around about mulling with maple syrup and making maple syrup paints. Specifically, I thought it would be fun to make, like, you know, earth colors like raw sienna or something with maple syrup. And so I was joking around about this with Ev and Otto and other people who mull paints, and getting a lot of flack for it. Like, oh, come on, you wouldn't do that. You're going to waste maple syrup. It's probably going to go funny. It's going to smell weird. Like, what are you doing? This is just a gimmick. Don't do this. And then I found out that, yeah, Dan was saying at one point, like, oh yeah, I've changed my recipe, you know, had some issues with honey. I found something that works better for me, and bonus, it's vegan. Wait for it, maple syrup. Which, I mean, of course it was Dan and not any of the Canadian paint makers who ended up trying it first, but there's lots of sugar syrup mixes, so it's not real too. Yes, exactly. So we get local honey that is just local honey from local bees, and it's 100% honey. But if it's like imported honey, apparently in the various shipping all around, there's lots of opportunities for it to be mixed in with other stuff, so you end up with something that's really watered down and mostly not honey. I don't know. I think there was just, like, you know, because people throw all sorts of nonsense into paints too. Like, I like clove oil in paints, for example. Just a little bit, but a tiny bit of clove oil in paints I find actually works fine, doesn't cause any problems. But I know that there are people who have started throwing in, like, oh yeah, like, let's hop on this essential oil bandwagon and, like, let's start throwing in all sorts of oils into paints, and let's throw glitter into paints, and why not this other stuff? And not disclosing what they're putting in their paints. Like, there's some concern about just messing around too much, right? Like, some formulas work, just stick to them. I don't think that there's anything terribly wrong with maple syrup, but there was a concern that honey has some antiseptic properties, which maple syrup does not. So you might be more prone to moldy paints with maple syrup. Frankly, I don't think that's a huge issue either way. If you live in the rainforest and seal wet paints in a container, they will mold. If you don't live in a rainforest, your paints won't mold, and that's really what it comes down to. So that was the other thing, is some companies use sugars as humectants. Yes, so Lucas uses sugar as a humectant. What's the other one? Da Vinci also just uses sugar syrup. So I mean, like, if you want to do it the cheapest way, like, there's no reason why you need to use maple syrup versus, you know, corn syrup, table syrup. And at that point you can get the clear stuff. So yeah. Okay, that is a beautiful color as well. I'm not sure what is going on in the Blue Ridge, that their raw sienna is a different pigment than their burnt sienna. Seems to me like that should not be the same thing, but that those should be, like, either they're not the same, raw versus burnt, they're two different things, call them two different things, or whatever. But that being said, that's just me being pedantic. They are both really lovely colors, and I quite like, I tend to prefer burnt siennas that have a little bit more of that richer, redder tone rather than being very, very brown. Not quite to the, oh sorry, I'm off screen, I'm entirely off screen, I'm so sorry. Not quite to the point of, say, Winsor Newton, but this seems really nice, quite like that. It's definitely more muted than Winsor Newton, but it's not quite as brown as, say, Daniel Smith. So if you're looking for something in that middle area that's a burnt sienna versus more of quinacridone rust, quinacridone burnt orange, or PR 101 sort of color, instead it's a real earth color, but a reddish earth color. This is a really nice version. I also really like that raw sienna, and it applied really lovely and smoothly. All of these paints are really nice to re-wet. They seem to have solved their stickiness issue with like wrapping them too soon, I think was the issue. The first batch of Roman Schmall paints that I got, some of them like were really stuck to the wrapper. That seems to have resolved, so it's nice to see. Okay, this was all just like some joke conversation. Like, it was a joke conversation that none of us were taking terribly seriously. I suggested that Ev should make some gimmicky Canadian paints made with maple syrup, and there were some questions of, wouldn't that mold? And I was not convinced that that would mold or in any way be a problem. But I also wasn't really all that invested in this idea. But Dan, it turns out, ran with it, or had the idea himself. I think he was in that conversation. I'm not sure if that's what led him to experiment. In any case, he did experiment with maple syrup as an alternative to honey. That is what he uses in his paints now. This is manganese brown. So manganese brown is a fun one. Manganese brown is, I think, only also available from Y164, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that manganese brown is available as sepia. Oh, I'm about to write sepia. Manganese brown. It's available as sepia from what's it called? My Mary Blue. In their new, all new, I mean it's been years. Their line is now all single pigments. And the My Mary Blue one is interesting. It applies a very different color than it dries to. Honey is affordable here in the Netherlands. Maple syrup, if it is in stock, is pretty expensive. Right, so again, like, this is going to be location dependent. We are Canadian. Canada is the place where we have a strategic, like other countries have things like a strategic oil reserve. Not to say we don't have a strategic oil reserve, we do, but we also have a strategic maple syrup reserve. And the largest theft in all of Canadian history was the Great Maple Syrup Theft, where a cabal of people started siphoning off maple syrup and refilling the tanks in the strategic maple syrup reserve with water. It wasn't found out for quite some time, so quite a bit of maple syrup went missing. We do have like a lot of sugar maple and silver maple trees that can be tapped for syrup. It is kind of our national thing. So it's not cheap anywhere. Again, it's just a matter of like, it can only be collected at very limited times of year, and then what you collect is sap, and then it doesn't, you need to boil it down quite a bit to make it into any kind of usable syrup. So it's not cheap, but neither is honey if you're getting, good local honey. So in that sense, it's not terribly different. I'd say they're roughly the same. I say about, not a boot. And we drink better beer than Molson, I would say, but also I don't drink beer because it makes me feel yucky. Hi Gabber, how are you? Iron chrome brown. Oh, fascinating. PBR 29. Great to catch the stream after a thrilling snooker session. Ooh. Actually, I'm English, but whatever. You can claim dual nationalities. You've been here long enough. So I'm swatching the new Roman Schmall paints, which got sent to me by Wartsman's Art Supplies. Completely by surprise, nobody told me anything. Roman Schmall didn't tell me anything. Wartsman's Art Supplies didn't tell me anything. I got a weird call from UPS asking about how to get into my studio to deliver stuff, and I hadn't ordered anything to my studio, nor had I so much as given my address to my studio to anyone recently, so I was rather confused, and I had this theory of like, oh, maybe, so I asked UPS who shipped it. They said, oh, it's a shipping company in Bolton. And so I had to do a whole bunch of sleuthing, and I'm actually kind of proud of myself that I managed to figure out, like, sort of guess at, like, this wild theory that, like, oh, this is this package from Roman Schmall via Wartsman's. Wartsman's recently followed me on Instagram, and Roman Schmall has sent me multiple packages to my studio, and Wartsman's is their exclusive North American distributor now, so there we go. I was right. I did get, these are the new 2021 colors that were released a few months ago. So I'm definitely not the first to swatch these, unlike the last set, but lots of other people have tried them. But they are real nice. Did I try the paint? I'm trying the paint right now. That's what I'm swatching. Oh, sorry. Paolo. Nice alchemy. Do you have any Fude fountain pens? I don't, but I've been meaning to try them. And I was meaning to try them, and then I ordered some stuff from Yoseka Stationery, which is a Japanese, it's an American shop, but it sells Japanese fountain pens and other stationery. Get the green one, can't remember the name. Oh, the Sailor Furudamanan. Yes, I do like that one. Oh, of course. One hid this. It's called... No, I'm pulling out the wrong thing. Anyway, I got a few Fude fountain pens. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I was thinking of the brush fountain pens, which I also want to try. You're talking about the bent nibs, these guys. So here's a green one that is not the Sailor one. This is just something that I got on Amazon. What is it? I don't know. It's some like cheap knockoff thing. Yeah, I don't really have a huge amount of experience with them. To be honest, I'm super boring about my fountain pens. I do use fountain pens because I have interesting niche ink interests, but for my fountain pens I just want a cap that seals, because I'm liable to let them sit with ink in them for quite a long time. I want a really fine nib, and I want nice, smooth writing experience. So like I'm really, like I've tried flex nibs and been like, eh. I've tried, yeah. I'm like really, really boring and basic about my fountain pens, which is fine and great, and it means that I can get really cheap ones. So my fountain pens, like I have a bunch of, what's it, TWSBI Ecos, which like they're nice, I love them. The only issue I have with them is that they are not as fine as I want. I just got a bunch of platinum preppies in the extra fine, which I'm excited to play with. What was the last thing that I just got just now from Yosaka? Oh, I've got a platinum pre-fount, which is it only came in a fine, not an extra fine, but it's a Japanese fine, so it's still apparently pretty fine. And then I also want to get the Pilot penmanship, and I've got some of the extra fine, couple of the extra fine, what are you called? Kakunos? Is that it? Platinum plaisir better. I had two preppies break on the thread. Okay, you can replace, so the plaisir only comes in plaisir. Man, all of these, like whenever a company from country A mix something with a name from country B, from language B, and I'm speaking in a third language, I never know how to pronounce things. Like, it's a French word, plaisir, but whatever, feels weird. Same nib. Well, same nib as the fines or mediums, right? They don't, the plaisir doesn't come in the ultra fine, extra fine. The preppy didn't used to either, but the preppy now comes, some of them come in the O2. So I guess I believe that you can just replace the nib section. Put the nib section from the preppy into the plaisir. So if I have any issues with the yeah, I mean, I just, like, I wanted to have some even finer nibs than what I have. The real reason I've sort of gotten into fountain pens is just, I've been experimenting with using different colors of fountain pen ink as inking for my work. So I've been experimenting with sorry, let me bring out the collection. Okay, so I guess part of this is I was gonna announce this elsewhere, but I can, many of you know anyway. I recently applied for a grant from the Canadian government for a project that I'm now working on, which is called On the Skin of Giants. And it is an exploration of tree bark as an ecosystem. I'm specifically focusing on local species, not necessarily native, but like that are growing in this area, and all of the stuff that lives on it. So all kinds of insects and lichen and mosses and birds and whatever that live on tree bark, that make tree bark their home. Well, this is going to be a major exhibition project that I'm going to be focusing on for the next while. And I have been experimenting with fountain pen inks, specifically pigment inks or inks that have been tested to be relatively light fast. Because not all pigment inks necessarily are light fast, which sucks. And you also don't know what pigments are in them, because fountain pens work differently from watercolors. So I have this whole collection where I have, you know, this is Sailor Suboku and Diatramentus Artist Brown. The sketch inks all are fairly light fast. So I have the Rotor and Klinger sketch inks. Don't really like the packaging on them, but they are lovely inks. And then I have some Diatramentus document inks. I have some, and then these are the, oh sorry, here's the carbon ink, but this is just black. And then my latest thing was, I was really excited about Kakimori. It was the latest things that I've gotten. So I've got, they're so cool, these bottles. Man. So this one is Terrori, and this one is, I think, Corinne. And then I've also got these ones from an earlier series of Kakimori. And they're supposed to be fairly light fast. Unfortunately, they haven't been widely tested, so I might have to test those. I'm also going to play with some of the non-pigment but tested as light fast noodlers inks. So La Reine Mauve and what's the other one? No, that's based on indigo. And I keep forgetting what it's called. Kuntiching. Yes, so I need to get the pilot penmanship. It wasn't available, well, I mean, to be honest, I may have not checked at Yoseka. The thing is, I was trying to stay under the Canadian limit for, if you stay under 200 Canadian dollars, usually, it's not guaranteed, but if you have a small package coming in and it's under 200 Canadian, often, you won't get dinged on customs. So I was trying to stay under that. Now it turns out that Yoseka, I was trying to stay under that. I did not, so I was fully expecting to have to pay customs. But Yoseka filled out my customs form in a very, very, let's say, generous way. In terms of filling out values, so that it was well under. So yes, I do want to try the penmanship as well. And then I had heard that the penmanship, the pilot penmanship, if you don't like how the grip feels or the lid, like sorry, the cap, then you can, it fits into one of the other pen bodies as well. One of the other like budget ones. So you can swap out the nibs. So yeah, so my current project, I'm going to be doing a lot of ink and watercolor and ink lining, because I find it works really nicely for like really defining lichen shapes, and getting some detail in there in a way that I enjoy. But I, sorry, PBR 29. Okay, I'm going to move all of these up. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to being able to play with different colors of ink so that I can have like that definition. I like that sort of graphic look of ink lining, but not always working with black ink. Like sometimes I want to work with different colors of ink. So I'm really looking forward to that. And you know, working with, I have worked with you know, the felt tip pens in the past, but first of all, then you're limited in light fast colors, but then you're also limited in, like, man, those microns, they just die like this. So like, yeah, you can get light fast sepia in microns or in whatever, but I find they die so quickly. So I've mostly switched to fountain pens, but having experimented with some like somewhat more expensive fountain pens, the truth is, I don't get it. It's not, you know, not really worth it to me. Shoot, where did I put the wrapper for this one? Oh yeah. Shadow gray. Oh, sorry. B29. The shadow gray is quite nice. Like it. I think this is supposed to be like a different version of the shadow violet. Again, I've spoken to Schmall, and he's aware of the light fastness issues with Shadow Violet. It's a popular color, so I'm not sure if he wants to discontinue it right away, but both with that and with the quinacridone gold hue that I'm going to swatch next, I think that there might also be a supply issue, or that he's trying to just widen his options for discontinuing things. He's also, I think, on a bit of a mission to expand to become like truly the, you know, have the most colors, like getting into a bit of a race with Daniel Smith, which frankly, like, go for it. I don't know that that's really necessary. Like, nobody really needs this many colors, but it certainly is nice when he comes out with, you know, some pigments that some nice pigments that I would like to use. And certainly in terms of other brands, it's often like I would happily use only whatever Schmall paints, except that they don't have all the colors that I would like to use. I mean, and also reasons, but certainly that's not a thing anymore with Schmall, because he's just sort of covered all the bases. I think this set pretty much completes it. I can't think of a pigment that you know, I find I need that isn't in this collection already. I'm sure he'll surprise me. He's found some new pigments and now it's like, oh, well, you're the exclusive supplier for that, so Okay, so next we're going to do quinacridone gold hue. Oh, I feel like this one's going to need to be trimmed down before I put it down. Interesting. Quinacridone gold hue, and then reading the Polish, it says Loti. So this is their currency. So I guess that their currency, it's like, it means gold. That's neat. So they also do have a paint called quinacridone gold, which is made with PY150 and P048. This one is a different formula, and I suspect it's because P048 is not long for the world. Which, there was a time in the not too distant past where I would have freaked out about that and stocked up, but I'm at peace. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this feed because I feel like I'm missing some chat. PO48, yeah, PO48, so not PO49. PO49 is already gone. PO48 is being discontinued by one of its two remaining manufacturers. That's been rumored out for a long while. So, sorry, like, you can still get it in paint. It's widely available from a bunch of different manufacturers. If you want it in paint, just go and get a bunch. Because sometime in the next few years, stocks will deplete and it'll be discontinued like other things that have been discontinued over time. Because it doesn't have, it's not being manufactured like by pigment manufacturers anymore. So paint companies depend on demand of pigments for other industries. I still have most of a tube. Yeah, exactly. So, and you can mix a lot of things that are similar. At one point I was just like really hooked on PO48, and I haven't really touched it, although I have plenty. Haven't really touched it in a while, so I'm not really panicking about PO48 not being long for the world. I do have some. But it's, in any case, like it's not a thing like manganese blue or something where like, well, you're too late. There are plenty of places you can get PO48, or even even PO49 is difficult to get. That is not the case with PO48. It is still widely available in paint. It's just not going to be forever, probably. Because there's no demand for it outside of paint, so we're just sort of, there's a bunch of stock existing of the pigment that can then be made into paint. Okay, quinacridone scarlet. So this is, it doesn't have a pigment, if I recall correctly. Yeah. There is a I can explain what's going on here. Quinacridone scarlet is an unnamed pigment that's used in, among other things, Winsor and Newton's permanent alizarin has PR206 and another pigment that's unnamed. This is the other pigment, and it is a big part of it. It's been around forever. It's light fast. It's lovely. It's manufactured for a specific purpose that, they never sought registration for. Anyway, yeah. There are a few cases like this of pigments that, like, they're known to exist, they're known to whatever, they just don't have a pigment code. Beautiful. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. I love it so much. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, that's so lovely. It's like, it's really scarlet. Like, it's not, it's like that very slightly orangey red. It's like red, but it's not, no trace of pink, just like real orangey. Like the deepest orange you could imagine. where orange turns into red. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. And I think I just had to change my color wheel. Dang, wow. Okay, I'm glad I got this before I put that out. Whew, this is beautiful. And which other paint, Winsor Newton, is that pigment in? Oh, there's one. Okay, so it's in permanent alizarin crimson, but it's not the only pigment in permanent alizarin crimson. They also have one paint that is only that, like it is carmine or something. I don't know what it's called. Like they have a permanent carmine, maybe? Let me see if they don't list it right. In their permanent alizarin crimson, they don't list it at all. They list their permanent alizarin crimson as PR206. And it looks really weird because their permanent alizarin crimson is like this bold red, whereas every other PR206 in the world is a brown color. This is why. Because they list the only pigment that they have a name for. But it's also got this in it. They have one other paint that's only this one, and it's listed as PR not applicable. How that scarlet compares to the old batch of DS Transparent Orange. I can't remember the pigment, PO73 I think. It's PO71, and I never got my hands on the old batch of Daniel Smith Transparent Orange. I have an old batch of Schminke Transparent Orange, which is somewhat more reddish than the current Schminke Transparent Orange, but I don't have the Daniel Smith Transparent Orange from that era, which was apparently basically red. I don't know. I am aware that that's a thing that exists. I actually can't really compare because I don't own it. Permanent carmine. Yeah, I think it's permanent carmine, because carmine then would be like NR9 or something. But then if they have carmine and permanent carmine, I bet it's the permanent carmine. If somebody could check that for me, it's just a little tricky to do internet research while streaming. Okay, so next I've got quinophthalone yellow, which is another thing that I am quite excited about. Sorry, let me just move these over so that you can see all of everything here, and I'm gonna put my next one down. Could you include a small swatch of this scarlet in one of the sketchbooks? It would reach me eventually. I'm not in a hurry to buy more paint. Yes, absolutely. I will happily swatch out whatever. Can probably even dig some out for you. Like, get you a little sample. I'm just about to send a third sketchbook out, but if you want, I can actually like paint something with it in the next sketchbook. I think that Lindsay said that she has another sketchbook coming to me soon. Haven't even tried most of the Schminke super granulating sets on the shelf. I haven't bought those. I'm being like quite controlled about my paint acquisition. I haven't bought paint in like a year and a half at all. No paint whatsoever. Paint does seem to keep coming my way, but that's not my fault. And I did buy pens. That was like my recent art supply purchase. Has been pens. Yeah. But a small swatch is fine. Yeah. I will happily do a painting and throw in a swatch. Like I can throw in a swatch in the current sketchbook, which might reach you a little sooner. I've got Bindy's sketchbook right now. And I think I believe that Lindsay said she has another one, so then I would have another sketchbook to send along soon. They'll have to zigzag around the US for a while before they get to you, but like I think we're kind of on opposite ends of the loop there, but I bought that cheap acrylic set of 12. Yeah, the last paint that I got was, sorry, I said a year and a half. That's not true. About 6 months ago, I got a couple of gouache tubes and a few extra tubes for this color wheel series to test, including a tube of quinephrolone yellow. So this one is from Mission Gold, and now I'm swatching a quinephrolone yellow from Roman Schmall, because quinephrolone yellow was not available from Roman Schmall or had only just been introduced or something. That scarlet is beautiful, my goodness, I love it. This is a really lovely yellow too. I'm waffling with my yellows for that color wheel. I was so sure I was going to use quinephrolone yellow, and then I tested, the transparent yellow medium from Rembrandt, this one, PY 128. Again, which I had sort of, I tested a couple of times, and it didn't fit where I wanted it to in my regular use. And then I tested it again, and man, is it ever nice. Like, if I'm not going to have PY 150, I do really like it. It's just too close to PY 150 for me to use it in my regular palette. It's less tinting, less overwhelming than PY 150. Okay. This one's a little bit more lemony though, which might be closer to primary yellow. I'm waffling. It's also available from more than one manufacturer, which is kind of nice. Oh shoot, I keep on doing this where I tuck the wrapper underneath before getting all my, oh sorry, I wrote, this is a 7. It's not the most light fast. Dang it. It's okay. Non-granulating, staining. Oh, that's filled out that staining. And semi-transparent. So then the next thing is this Chrome Orange Hue, P082. Fascinating. The longer it takes, the better, I guess. I can just send you stuff too, like we can bypass that sketchbook. I think I owe you a little painting. Good. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I need to mail to people. I finally got Ev's thing out, but I still have stuff to mail to various people. P082. Live for a quick walk. We'll be back in a few minutes. See you soon. Say hi to Dante for me. And so this one is Chrome Orange Hue, brand, Schmall, Aquarius. And can somebody comment on P082? I'm not recognizing that pigment number, but I suspect that it is actually available from all sorts of places. I just don't, I'm just like, yellows and, well, okay, I say yellows and oranges. It turns out that it's like most colors. I am stuck in my ways, so like I don't necessarily know what all is available. This seems like very creamy. I don't remember using anything quite this creamy orange in all my recent swatches. Yeah, like my oranges, I have transparent orange from Winsor Newton, which is my go-to, and then I have a variety of P071s, which were my go-to before I discovered the Winsor Newton awesome thing. Sicklepal orange. Okay. Do other brands use this pigment? Is this just a Roman Schmall special? I like it. If I ever need a creamy orange, that's where I'll go. Wait. Tin titanium zinc oxide. Okay, so that sounds like something that's not like widely available. Have to leave too. It was a long day. It was good catching the stream after a while. Take care. Yeah, nice to see you. I will wrap this up. I've only got 4 more to do. Perylene Red. This is PR 178, which is one of my go-to reds in other brands. The truth is, actually, Roman Schmall has a bunch of really nice reds, so I haven't found it to be really missing from the Roman Schmall range per se, because a lot of their other reds sort of take that place. But I am happy to have this pigment available nonetheless and see what they've done with it. Only car paint. Okay, fascinating. It's lovely. Because like it's got a sort of creamy thing to it though. Like it's not, bright, transparent. It's got like a sort of pastel-y, very creamy sort of color to it. Like an orange creamsicle. I feel like there was another orange here. Is it this last one that's just swatched really lightly on here? Might be. PR290 ginger red. Yeah, sorry, that was the one that I was like really excited about when I saw some swatches. So maybe I'm saving the best for last. Okay, cool. I have a spreadsheet too. You don't have to go to Kim Craig. It's fine. I check her stuff too. She's more on top of like a lot of the newer releases and smaller brands. PR 178. Yeah, we Googled and it was the only reference. Well, that means that it wasn't in my spreadsheet, because if it was in my spreadsheet, it would have come up first. Apart from artist creation, yeah. Well, artist creation comes up above me always, but Chelsea, which she copied. Yes, exactly. That's where you get information, don't you know? Staining, granulation, transparency. Okay. And light fastness 8. So that's the Pearly Red, and it is lovely. I have to go and we'll watch the rest later on. Alright, see you later. Okay, because I really want to see all of the swatches. Yeah, I'll zoom out and show them all together in a moment, and I'll also scan them and put them on the blog, because I assume that's why they were sent to me, although nobody told me anything about this. It's not like there's any expectation of anything. These just arrived. Like, Roman Schmall hasn't spoken to me in like a year. Yeah. You can also ask Lana when she returns. That's right, Lana's the other resource for this. You're right. Bye. See you later. Okay. Only 3 more swatches. Quinacridone purple. So quinacridone purple is another one of these paints that I actually have. I often have in my palettes. Like, I have quinacridone purple right now in my main palettes, but it wasn't available from Roman Schmall until this release, so excited to see it, and we'll see how this handles. Maybe they sent it by accident and wanted it back. No, they definitely did not send it by accident. So Roman Schmall is a manufacturer. He's one guy who has a factory in Poland, and he's got a background as a chemist and explored pigments. He started this watercolor line, and right off the bat he had way more colors than any of the other small companies. And he had spoken to some of the other pigment nerds in the world and like consulted to get some interesting pigments. And I found out about this, and I couldn't get his, like, initially his paints were only available in Poland. It was really tough for me to get my hands on them. I sent him an email saying, this is really cool. Do you have suggestions on how I can get these in Canada? And I didn't hear back anything for a while, and then he got back to me, he emailed me back and said, would you like me to send you some? And he did. So this was before they were at all available in Canada. He sent me a whole bunch of paints. And then he sent me a couple more things since then. He gets in touch every so often. He was always sending to me directly. Gwartzman's is an art supply store in Toronto. They're the exclusive distributors in North America for this Polish brand now. So at the time when they first started, you couldn't get them in Canada at all, or in the US, anywhere outside of Poland. Now they're available all sorts of places, including at this store in Toronto. The store in Toronto shipped these things to my studio. They didn't have my studio address. Like, I had ordered from them before, but to home. They shipped something to my studio. And I was racking my brain, who has my studio address? Roman Schmall. Where did this come from? I asked UPS. UPS said it came from a distribution company in Bolton. Then I remembered, oh yeah, Gwartzman's recently followed me on Instagram. So this art supply store recently followed me. And they're the exclusive distributors in North America now for this company that keeps sending me stuff. So, yeah. It's not a mistake. This is very deliberate. I was kind of surprised when I didn't get this directly from Roman Schmall right away. Not surprised, but like, you know, I had gotten stuff before, so I hadn't heard from him. So whatever, I thought that surely he's got other things that he could do instead. Other people who are more interesting to send things to. But no, he sent them through the distributor. So it makes tons of sense. It's just nobody told me that it was coming at all. It just showed up at my studio. Well, it showed up. They tried to deliver it to my studio, and then they called me. Anyway, if they wanted something in exchange, they would have told me they wanted something in exchange. The truth is that Roman Schmall has never asked for anything in exchange for any of these reviews, for any of these paints. He just likes talking to pigment nerds and having people look at it. The last time that he contacted me, he said, if you want to put it in your that I'm just letting you know for your paint. You have the spreadsheet thing. I use it as a reference. You might want to know that my line is expanding. And I said, sure. And he said, also, I'd like to send you some paint. And I said, great. And I did a review and I added the things. But like, he didn't ask me to do a review on a video at this time at all. In fact, when I added it to the spreadsheet, he said, can you unpublish that for a while? Because I haven't actually announced all those colors yet. Oops. Yes. But yeah, I'm not worried about this just being like sent to the wrong person or anything. They didn't have my address. The only way they got my address is because the manufacturer gave it to them. I'm just so cool and famous that I get things sent to me. Turns out that making it on YouTube, long before you make any money, you start acquiring stuff. So this is Cobalt Green Deep that I'm going to swatch next. Well, these are all lovely. Very happy with them. Yeah, so these are nice paints, and I have, like, for all that I've gotten a bunch of free paints from this brand, I've also purchased some of these paints myself. Not these colors. I considered purchasing a few of these colors, and then I decided not to right away because I figured I don't need more paint. Also, who knows? This is one of those brands where he pops out of the ether every so often and says, "Hey, I'd like to send you some stuff." Anyway, I will send a nice thank you. But like, I also have purchased paints where, like, I've tried the paint from him and really liked it and repurchased, or in a few cases where, like, after I first tried these paints, I went and purchased some of my own myself of other colors because I just really like the behavior of the paints generally. Like, I do just, like, these are great paints. These particular ones might not be colors that I would, like, some of them are great colors that I will definitely want to use again. Some of them are just, you know, these are just all the releases that came out in 2021, so that's not necessarily the selection of paints that I would choose for myself. But they are all really nicely made, and I continue to recommend, despite the fact that, yeah. So this is not sponsored. I'm not being paid to do this. Nobody told me what to say on this video. Nobody told me to make this video. Nobody spoke to me at all. But these paints were free. Roman Schmalls, where's this? PR290, so this is another unusual one. Ginger Red. And let me just, oh, sorry. Just want to make sure, sometimes the chat freezes on me. this is, of the swatches I saw online, this was the one that really excited me. Like I was happy to see Perylene Red, I was happy to see this really bright ultramarine blue and the quinacridone purple, but what I was really excited about was this ginger red, because it seems, that cobalt green is awesome. It is. It's very, very saturated, like it's very, very bright, and it's really, really easy to re-wet, which is really nice to see in a cobalt, and pretty rare. So I'm really happy with that. Like it would be a really nice texture paint. And it's a bit muted still to use as a mixing paint, but it's got like a really nice texture. It's really nice to re-wet. So I do really like that. And then there's this ginger red, which I saw swatches of, and it also looks really quite unique. So I'm pretty excited about. And yeah, like, so this is like a sort of earthy, creamy terracotta sort of thing. So again, like probably not your main mixing colors, but like sometimes it's nice to have something unique like that. And this is different from a lot that I've seen in other paints. It's got a bit of texture to it. And it's got like a really creamy feel to it. This one. So I'll just finish filling out that information, and then I'll set these out so that everyone can see the whole. Nobody's talking. You came late. There was a real chat before. Had trouble with the core PG26 separation. Like in the tube? That's common with cobalt pigments. Really, any kind of really heavy pigment will tend to separate if it's packaged in a tube. So that was another issue with manganese blue. Was that it really never behaved well in a tube because it would separate. Which means even some of the, like the manganese blue that you can get, like the vintage ones, well, you're still going to run into the problem of it's like really completely separated in the tube. So I guess that is the advantage of this packaging where it's all in pans. So I do still need to interesting arrangement of colors. Pretty sure this was just like the order they packed them in, rather than anything in particular, but I'm trying to leave it for consistency's sake, I guess. And I will then zoom out so that you all can see all of the colors together. And all of these. zoom you out. So here are all the colors together. And Cobalt Violet is just about the most frustrating, but the chroma is crazy compared to everything else in that range. Oh, the Cobalt Violet from M. Graham? Cobalt Violet from M. Graham has, I think that's the one that had like the crazy, like it turned to bricks in the tube for some people. Or just like it didn't, I think it was Cobalt Violet. It just didn't, it didn't function at all. The Roman Schmall Cobalt Violet re-wets fairly nicely. The if you can get Sela paints, which is Elijah's brand, it's not available on Etsy. That one re-wets really nice. And then I also have Cobalt Violet Brilliant Light from Jello Mission Gold. This one comes in a tube, but and it's PV 102, so it's slightly different Cobalt Violet, but it is also lovely. Soak it 24 hours. I have the core again. Oh, okay. I don't think I've tried the core. But yeah, like it's that and Cobalt Teal, where it's like, there's nothing else like it. Like if you want that like neon light bright, this ginger red, like it dries darker. It applies quite light and then it dries darker. That's fascinating. Okay, so I do need to let these dry out. Some of them are still a little bit wet on the paper. And then once they dry out, then I'll do a lifting test and I'll put them in the binder, but I think that's about it for today. I'll also scan them in and put them on the blog. So this was really neat. Really happy to have all of these things. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't already, my Discord channel is free to join. We chat throughout the week. That's in the video description. There's also a link to my Patreon page where you can support me, and I try to do some extra posts there. I have to say I've been a little bit negligent about my Patreon, but anyway, bye everyone. Thank you so much. And yeah, like and subscribe, but you know, you don't need to call everyone knows. Bye. And let me end stream.